This is the initial phase of me planning for my trip to Italy. Um, yeah, it was a birthday gift. It was a birthday gift, and I'm so thankful for this. It was a birthday gift, all expense paid trip to Italy for my birthday. God knows. It's so funny because I have a couple of countries on my list, on my bucket list to travel to before I, hit the bucket. And so Italy was definitely always on my list because when I travel for food. I don't know if anybody knows that, but I legit travel for food. Girl, when I say Italy was on my list, of girl and boy, because I know I don't always only have female subscribers. I have male subscribers as well. But I say this to say Italy has been on my bucket list because I'm a foodie. I travel mostly for food and architecture. That's all I travel for. And everything else comes into play. And sometimes culture, obviously, right? But I feel like anywhere you travel to, you're going to get a sense of that culture. Moving across the United States, I've lived in countries across the United States. And when I say live, it's not visited, not staying for a year. It's just staying for like long periods of time, more than a year, more than 2 years. I realized that even within the United States, as you travel, each state has their own way of doing things, their own, I would say, culture. Dare I say culture? But everybody has their own way of doing things. So traveling, just make sure that's not good. So traveling, right? For me, traveling, I don't travel first for culture because I know it's automatically, it's a given. I'm going to experience culture wherever I travel to because it's a different place. I mainly book my vacations or book my destinations on food and architecture and history sometimes, right? Now, if it's just, yeah, and the history, but food is on top. So Italy has been on my bucket list because of foods. I am a foodie. I said that so many times, but seriously, it is. My mouth is watering thinking about my trip. Um, I'm going to be, so I am the type of traveler that when I go to a destination, I just don't stay in that destination. I tend to travel across. I go to different regions. I go to different regions, so I don't just stay in that region. So, for instance, I'm going to Italy. I'm flying into Rome, right? But I'm not just going to stay in Rome. I am planning to go to Florence, and I'm trying to figure out a way to get to Pisa and make it a day trip and come back because I know Pisa is closer to Florence than it is closer to Rome. So I'm trying to figure that out. Just remember the Leaning Tower of Pisa? I'm trying to figure out my way to get there. So I legit have 4 days to do all this. So I'm planning to do all the sightseeing stuff, mostly in Florence. I love Florence, Italy, because it's a foodie paradise, and I think I'm going to have a blast there. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have a blast there. I'm pacing myself because I eat with my eyes, and when it's time to eat, I'm like, geez, I can't finish my food. If you see me, I'm not skinny, but I'm smaller in frame. And with me eating food and just enjoying food, I tend to be wise with how I eat food. I snack within the day. I kind of eat portions. I don't eat my whole plate, or I do portion control. So it's going to be quite interesting, traveling and just eating with my eyes versus just actually ordering the food because I know for me I like nibble. So I'm excited about Florence. So right now I've booked all my accommodations. I booked my flights. I booked a walk-in tour. I'm going to explain everything I've done, the whole process, like who I followed, like how I figured out this information. By the way, this was done within 3 days. This is a last minute trip. I was gifted this last minute. I was like, what? So mind blown. So you can plan a trip. I guess I'm very organized. So it's quite easy for me to plan things. My mind I'm super organized. So It was quite easy. And the thing with me, and I've said this many a times, when things seem like it's a lot, you break it down into little portions and you take it one step at a time. And at the end of everything, you realize, okay, I'm at the last portion of that whole like debacle, right? So for me, it was like, okay, book the flight first. You book the flight now. Book your accommodations. After accommodation, good. So now, and build booking accommodations. I can be a travel agent. I basically did, flying in. You have to check-in times usually is about 2:30 p.m. So that's what I've noticed. So I booked my flight to come in at a certain time where I can drop off my luggages and where I can go and have a brunch or something to eat and then come back to my room, kind of refresh myself and then go back out. The plan is not to stay in a hotel all the time. The plan is to explore. So when I'm traveling within like Florence or any other place, what I did, I'm taking public transport, but I'm planning to like have my accommodations close to the train stations that I would have to hop on. So it's kind of like, okay, if I'm leaving my hotel with my suitcases, I don't want to walk too far. And I also don't want, I want to be in a city center, but I also want to be close to the train station and all that's logistics. So I plan that and that works. I think, again, I'm going to make more detailed videos about choosing my accommodations, about flight is the easiest thing. The flight is the easiest thing, right? But choosing my accommodations and then choosing places I'll go to and then choosing like tours and all that stuff. I'll give you a detailed video explanation about all that. But for now, this is just the beginning phases and I'm excited. It's my birthday coming up and I'm excited. I'm also going, mind you, I'm also going to Italy during the low season. So that means most of the things that I'm like my accommodations, my flights isn't as expensive as it would be if I went in peak season. So it's a lesson. But yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. One country off my bucket list. So this is what I do. I'm talking too much because I'm excited. But this is what my bucket list consists of Asian countries, European countries, African countries, definitely. Um, I'm not necessarily thinking about Alaska or Australia and anywhere else because that's not on my bucket list. But those are the three continents that I'm like my bucket list countries to visit. They're all in that within those three continents. And so what I am doing on my end is trying to knock off Europe. Like I'm knocking it off as I would, right? As the person that I am, I'm very much like, hey, one step at a time, right? So I'm trying to knock off Asia. What am I saying, Asia? I'm trying to knock off Europe. So all the countries are on my bucket list for Europe. I'm trying to knock it off, and then I have Asia to knock off, and then I have Africa. Africa is going to be a huge list because I'm dividing it by region. So north, south, east, west. I think I may stay away from the only northern African country I may visit is Morocco. Morocco. But if not, they just recently had an earthquake, so very devastating. I can't imagine how that would feel. I remember living in the West Coast and just being scared about a major earthquake hitting us. And so I can only imagine how they felt. So my condolences to those who are watching who lost family members or who were affected by the earthquake in Morocco. My condolences. But yeah, that's the only Northern African country that I will visit right now that is on my bucket list. Everything else will be split into regions. So East Africa, West Africa, and South Africa. And when you think about South Africa, I'm not necessarily thinking about South Africa itself, but like I wanted to think about Tanzania, like Uganda, like places closer, Zimbabwe, right? So, anyways, that's the plan. Um, so for European countries, I have left on my list Amsterdam. I have what is this place? Spain, and I have Portugal. After that, I'm done with all like visiting all the European countries. I've been to London, I've been to Paris, I'm going to Italy now, which was on my bucket list. Um, And like I told you, when I do that, I tend to just kind of zigzag and go with it. So I was in London, but I flew from London to Paris, which is like if you're in Europe, you can actually make do with just like make it a 9 day trip, 10 day trip, and just see the whole of Europe. It's really possible by trains. The train system in Europe, I heard, is impeccable. It's really good. So I'm taking it for the first time. I took the plane. I'm taking it for the first time, but based on the reviews and everything, I heard it's impeccable. It runs smoothly. And that's, to tell you the truth, that's what I plan to do while I'm there. I was gonna like fly from airport to airport in Italy. I'm like, what's the point? Like you have to worry about checked luggages, and when your checked luggages that you carried from the United States to the location, if you're doing local flights, you then have to worry about weight restrictions and luggage restrictions, which I'm not in the mood for. So I'm not doing that. So planning phase right now, I'm still contemplating. I can legit like go with a carry-on luggage and pack everything in because I'm a very impeccable packer in that sense because I compact and organize everything. But the only problem or the qualm that I'm having is that if I go, I want to buy things, right? Like definitely want to get some truffle oil. Definitely want to get some balsamic vinegar. That's a must. But that's the only thing I foresee being huge. And then some pasta, dried pasta, and then maybe some canned tomato paste or tomato, just authentic like Italian whatever. So cook something Italian at home, right? Um, Although we have pasta, I heard it's not the same as the pasta in Italy. We shall see. But I want to do that. So what if I want to bring stuff back? I would have to like worry about where to stuff it in or where to put it. And so in that sense, for that reason, I'm thinking about taking carry on. I'm allowed one free carry on. I mean, sorry, one free check in luggage. But my only issue is because I am like once I get to Rome, I'm taking trains throughout, right? Well, the only train I'm really taking is from Florence to Florence and from Florence, right? But I still have to lug a big luggage backpack plus my carry-on on the train, off the train, and lug it through the streets. So I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that plus film. So I plan to document everything because I want to relive this over and 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 over again. um, Come on, this happens once in a lifetime when you're like offered a all expense paid trip to a certain location to anywhere you want to. Like, oh my god, what I know is when you're given a choice, when you're given a choice, like when you have many choices, it's harder to make a decision than when you have one or two choices. It's easier to narrow down your decision. My gosh, when it was like all expense paid trip to anywhere you want to go to, it was like, oh my gosh, wait, what? Where do I, what? Like you just become confused, but I had to like go within myself and go, hey, your bucket list. Where is it that you really, 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 really want to go to right now? That would make sense. And you can knock off within 4 days, right? So I was like, Italy, because this, I obviously will come back to Italy because Venice is still on my list. It's a romantic city. Venice is a romantic, the canals and the sit on the boats and ooh, I'm such a romantic. I love, love. So I would love to come back to Venice in the future. And where's the other place? I'm like remembering my bucket list. So it's Venice is I'm going to Florence, Milan. So I want to go to Milan. I'm not a big fashion whatever person, but I do want to go to Milan and I do want to go to Venice. Um, and I may do pizza this trip. If I don't do pizza this trip, I'll do not pizza, but pizza. Leaning Tower pizza, right? If I don't do that this trip, I'll do that, combine that with Venice and Milan and Pisa. I think Milan is close to Pisa anyway. So I checked the map and I feel like an Italian, but I'm not a real true Italian because I've not been there. So